Welcome students. After unit 1, 2 and 3, now we go for unit 4 of the block 1 of this course BGP 001, and unit 4 is about challenges of peace building. So in this unit what we are going to understand is about importance of peace building, what are the challenges faced in the peace building process, how to have balance between short-term and long-term objectives, and how to tackle these challenges. So in this unit these four basic understanding of the concept would be there. The first would be importance of peace building process, then what are different kind of challenges that we are going to face in the peace building process, how to have balance between short-term and long-term objective of peace building process, and how to overcome or tackle the challenges being posed while we are implementing peace building process. So what are the peace building challenges? The first and the foremost challenge of peace building process is lack of shared vision. What is lack of shared vision? The lack of shared vision for peace and development between national and international partner is the key challenge. The factors identified as limiting the development of the shared vision of the peace building are lack of shared understanding of the context, the absence of an agreed theory of change over the long term, the difficulty of integrating different country realities into one vision, and tendency to focus on immediate priorities and interventions unsuited to address the multiple dimensions of peace building challenge. I again repeat, lack of shared vision. Under lack of shared vision, factors identified as limiting the development of a shared vision for the peace building are: the first one, the lack of a shared understanding of the context, means one doesn't have the proper understanding in which context we are going to develop about the understanding of peace building. The second is absence of an agreed theory of change over the long term, which particular proposition we are going for implementing the peace building process for the long term. The third is difficulty of integrating different country reality into a one vision. I mean, we are not able to integrate all those challenges that we are going to face in a single dimension. And the fourth is tendency to focus on immediate priorities and interventions unsuited to address and multiple dimensions of peace building challenges. Means when we try to develop this peace building process, we are not able to identify all those immediate priorities and interventions which can be responsible for achieving a thoughtful peace building process. So that forces a kind of a challenge. So how to balance between short term and long term objective? There is the existence of trade-off between short term and long term peace building objective, and the difficulty of making choices that risk undermining some of the aspects of state building while supporting immediate peace building priorities. And the third is result is a decision to support compromised and inefficient governance. Let's have again understanding that in the long term objectives there is existence of trade-off between short term and long term peace building objective. Then we have difficulty of making choices which can contribute towards risk undermining some of the aspects of state building while supporting immediate peace building priorities. And the final is result is a decision to support compromised and inefficient governance. So what are the strategies, planning and priority setting for peace building initiative? So proliferation of plans and strategic frameworks. The existence of several planning documents often developed at the request of the donors, and absence of one single strategic framework that addresses and prioritizes the peace building objective. What happens? These two leads to disjointed incrementalism which challenges to operational alignment. I again repeat, proliferation of plans and strategic frameworks means abundance of plans and strategic frameworks. The existence of several planning documents often developed at the request of the donors means donor agencies, aid donor agencies, and absence of one single strategic framework that could address and prioritize peace building objective. So because of these two, it leads to disjointed incrementalism, which leads to challenge the operational alignment. Difficulties associated with transition between various phases of assistance, that is humanitarian peace building and state building development. These kind of difficulties basically transit between different phases of assistance. Then inherent trade-off, being flexible enough to adopt quick changes on the ground and identifying and aligning with sub-national priorities and plans, means when we are flexible enough to adopt quick changes on the ground, but identifying and aligning the sub-national priorities and plans to that becomes a quite complexity. So third is what? Low rates of implementation. When these kind of donor related programs, when they are being implemented, so their implementation process is very slow. How? Because the challenges to the peace building and state building may be due to lack of consensus on what constitutes successful implementation. Means the donor agency and the implementation agencies, they are not able to develop a kind of consensus on what constitutes and how it is going to successfully implement it. And absence of conflict sensitive approaches to the design of policies and programs. Peace building policies and programs, when they are designed, it is being found that they have absence of conflict sensitive approaches and they have lack of consensus on what constitutes the successful implementation process. So structural challenges to peace building. Another challenge is institutional arrangement. What happens under institutional arrangement? Weak institutional arrangements between the national government departments. Second, lack of clarity on roles and responsibilities among government actors and the donor practices on engaging with individual ministries. Third is executive and capital centric approaches. Under this, what happens? The risk of rural-urban divide in aid distribution and too narrow focus on central institutions and on the executives who are working in the central institution or government setup. Then over centralization of development, politics and services. When district administration in the rural area where the majority of the population lives remains weak and their service delivery process or time is very slow. So these are the executive and central capital approaches. So that come again for your understanding. I am again repeating structural challenges to peace building. Under this there are institutional arrangements. So what happens in institutional arrangements? Weak institutional arrangements within and between the national government departments. There can be conflict, or there can be role overlapping or area jurisdiction related fights. Then lack of clarity on roles and responsibilities. Who will be on the planning side, who will be on the implementation side, who will be on the feedback side, who will be on the project management side. So all these lack of clarity on role and responsibilities among government actors and donor practices of engaging with individual ministry. This is also one of the biggest challenge. Then what? Executive and capital centric approaches. The risk of rural urban divide means the planning, proposition and implementation process is designed at the central level, and where it is to be implemented at the rural and district administration level. So there is an absence of connect between these two processes. So the risk of rural urban divide in aid and too narrow a focus on central institutions on the executive. Second is over centralization of development, politics and services, and finally district administration, which is present in the rural area or block area where aid is to be distributed, where the majority of the population live, but the entire administrative network remains weak and delivery of service is time consuming. It means its delivery rate is very slow. So what is required? Citizen participation. Civil society, community-based organizations and ordinary citizens are not fully involved in peace building programs, because we have seen that it is basically conceptualized how we have to prepare the program, how it is to be implemented at the national level, whether it is to be implemented at the local and regional level. So at that level, absolutely very less citizen participation. Civil society, community-based organizations, ordinary citizens are not fully involved in peace building programs. Ensuring citizens' participation at all stages means conceptualization, designing, implementation of intervention in support of peace building and broader development objective is very challenging. State-centric and capital-centric approaches to peace building promoted by national and international partners generally do not help create space for civil society actors. Means what we can say that there is absence, restrictions or challenges for citizen participation in this particular case. Then comes poor strategic communication. Under poor strategic communication, communicating government decisions in regard to critical peace building goals and intervention contributes to aligning interest and getting support for difficult reforms. And second is lack of strategic communication from the center associated with the weakness of leadership is a major factor. So what are the limited accountability of international partners? Under limited accountability of international partners, the first is poor accountability on the donor side has been a key feature of the relationship between the national and international partners engaged in fragile and conflict affected context. And the second is often the actual commitments of international actors are not spelled clearly enough, and efforts to review actions against international commitments have been observed as very weak. So what are the limited effectiveness of capacity development approaches? Under this, we find the first is weak transfer of skills and technical capacity. Means we are not able to identify the right skill set and the capability of the people to implement from the technical side. Number two, quick turnover of advisors, significant levels of brain drain. What happens? Turnover means those advisors which were available at the time of conceptualization or designing of the process and the programs. When we actually come for the implementation, they are generally not there. They have changed their department, or they have changed their services, or they have left the government services. And significant level of brain drain means government officials leaving their job and now they have started working for the donor agencies. Means what happens that those who had to be at the helm of the offenses, helm of the policy making programs and its implementations, they have now left the government job and moved to the donor agencies. And finally, lack of coherent long-term capacity development programs. So these are the challenges which prohibit development of capacity for implementation of aid program. So we again go and have a proper understanding that what actually happened in this case. We have seen that how we have to balance between short-term and long-term objective, and then we have seen strategies, planning and priority setting. Under this, we have seen that there are proliferation of plans and strategic frameworks. So many plans, abundance of the plan. We have abundance of the planning documents which are developed at the request of donors. That also creates confusion. The absence of one strategic framework and that can addresses the priorities of peace building objective. And because of these two, we get disjointed incrementalism which challenges to operational alignment of the program. Then we also face difficulties associated with transition between various phases of assistance. and which can be humanitarian, peace building, state building, etc. Then we can have a kind of trade-off between flexible enough to adopt quick changes on the ground and identifying and aligning with sub-national priorities and the plans. And then when this particular peace building process and aid programs is being implemented, generally it is found that rate of implementation is very low. Then we see what are the structural challenges for the peace building process. So when we see the foremost challenge for structural challenges under peace building, the first is institutional arrangement. Weak institutional arrangement within which national government as respective department. Then there is a complete lack of clarity on roles and responsibilities among government actors, means government officials, departments, and the other side donor practices, means what kind of standard operating procedure being adopted by the donor agencies and what is being planned from the government side. So there is a complete lack of understanding and clarity of roles and responsibilities. And the third is executive and capital centric approaches. Under this there is a rural urban divide. The planning, the designing, the implementation program is basically programmed at the central level, where the implementation is at the district level or rural areas where the administration is not that strong that it can implement it in a faster way and service delivery is very low. And the third is absence of citizen participation. There are civil community-based organizations, ordinary citizens, they are not involved, they don't know, they are not aware about the peace building program that is actually happening in their area. So ensuring the citizens' participation at all stages of the design and implementation of the program and intervention is essential, which is not actually happening, which is not going to achieve a broader development objective of the implementation program. So this is one of the biggest challenge. Then state-centric and capital-centric approaches to peace building promoted by national and international partners do not help create space for civil society actors. So we see that this is another challenge, that local level participation, citizen participation, civil society members, community-based organizations are not involved in the implementation process. And lack of poor strategic communication, means communication is not coming from top to bottom level, for whom the program is prepared, who are the target agencies, and where it is implemented. There is a complete disconnect. There is a complete lack of strategic communication from the center. Associated with the weakness of a leadership is also a major factor. Then accountability of international partners, means those who are donor agencies. Poor accountability on the donor side, it is also one of the challenge. And often what happens that actual commitment of international actors are not spelled out clearly enough, and then effort to review actions against international commitments are also very weak. And finally, limited effectiveness of capacity development. We don't have proper institutionalized capacity development program which prohibits transfer of skills and technical capacity. So we have weak transfer of skills, we are not able to have proper skill set which is required for implementation of these programs. So we are not going to develop the capacity, we are not creating capacity enhancement, we are not creating any capacity development program, we don't have a specialized technical capacity which can be helpful for quick implementation of the program. Secondly, quick turnover of advisors, those who are at the helm of affairs when this program was prepared, when it was discussed for the implementation, when it actually comes for the implementation, they have moved to some other department. And then brain drain, means those government officials which were has to be in the process, they have left their job and they have joined donor agencies. And finally, lack of coherent long-term capacity development program is one of the major challenges. So all these major challenges, this can be structural also, institutional also, capacity development linked also, communication level also. All these challenges basically prohibit the smooth implementation of peace building program. So students, with these all deliberations, we end our block 1 here. Again we meet, again we discuss in the next block. So till that time, I say bye to all of you and we meet at the start of the block 2. Thank you for your enhanced learning. Bye.